Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And to a lot of your surprise, we are going to be continuing the What If Naruto Was Louise's Familiar as we go into the Boruto saga. Now, at first, I wasn't planning on going back into this series for a while now, but seeing as I have the free time and seeing the reception that this series got when it was out, it was actually one of the more popular ones that I had on the channel going into the end of 2022. And a lot of you guys were wondering if I was going to cover the Boruto section of the story. Now, granted, there would be a lot that would go into covering it, so I wanted to try to break it up into doing it by arcs. Now, this isn't going to be a series that I'm just going to do continuously. There are going to be breaks so that I can take time to plan things out and try to structure and see where things are going along. And with the recent events that we've had in the Boruto manga, that's definitely played a role in where I think this story is going to go. So for the first part, we're going to be calling this the Momoshiki saga. There are going to be different arcs within this saga, but our main focus is just to go through each arc one by one. Now, there are going to be some original story arcs as well, and there are going to be a lot of different character dynamics, as there are a lot of characters that we're going to have to balance with this series. So please keep that in mind going forward. But all in all, I do hope you'll enjoy as we continue a series that honestly has taken on a life of its own, one that's unique in its own way. And I do hope you'll enjoy what we have to offer going forward. Also, as a side note, I've decided one more change when it comes to one of the characters. I was originally going to name Boruto Jiraiya, but I'm just going to keep it as Boruto. And I know a lot of people will not like that decision, but for me personally, it's just a lot more simpler for me, because in terms of making the story, people are going to have questions if they haven't seen the first part, and you got to point them back to the beginning. So for now, I'm just going to keep it as Boruto because it's just easier for me and for my psyche making this story, or any story in general going forward. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Konoha would lay in ruins. The village would be set ablaze, buildings falling, soot raining from the sky, fires burning in every end. And on top of the destroyed Hokage faces, 7 figures would congregate. I didn't think you'd go this far, Kawaki. Did things really have to be this way? There's no point in asking that, Boruto. You already know the answer. We'll never forgive you for what you did to us, Kawaki. We trusted you. We believed in you, Kawaki. But you betrayed us. You betrayed our family. And what's worse is that you took him away from all of us. And we'll be damned if we're gonna let you take away our brother. You understand me? I understand your resentment. I understand why you all hate me. I don't fault you. But let me make this very clear. I will do what I must. The age of shinobi is over. And as far as Boruto is concerned, I will send him exactly where I sent the 7th. Even if you're right, Kawaki, even if this is the end for all of us, it doesn't change one fact. We are all shinobi. As the battle between family began, we still had some ways before we reached that turning point, a point of no return. How did things get this way? You're probably wondering. Where is Naruto? And who are these 6 individuals? This is a story of a boy. Of a boy who by chance found himself in a different world. And unknowingly he became the hero of the world he lost and of the one he discovered. That boy's name was Naruto Uzumaki. It all started by chance when a certain wizard in training accidentally summoned him from his world, making him her own familiar. That girl's name was Louise. Through Naruto's adventures in the other world, he gained many allies. He gained many friends and faced many foes. When it was all said and done, Naruto found himself with a lot of company, not just in the form of one wife, but actually 6. Now, do not mistake, this is not a normal tradition, even by Naruto's own standards. His acquiring of multiple wives came from a series of circumstances that could have only happened in a specific way. You've probably heard this story before, and if you haven't, check it out. It's 18 parts. But safe to say, Naruto had become fruitful and made many. Here are the children that were born to the house of Uzumaki. First, the daughter of Naruto and Louise, Charlotte Uzumaki. Next, the children of Naruto and Siesta, Mordecai Uzumaki and Mikoto Uzumaki. Then, we had the children of Naruto and Princess, now ruling queen of Tristan Henrietta, Lloyd Uzumaki, and their younger daughter, Lisa Uzumaki. Next would be Naruto and Tiffania, the half-human, half-elf, their oldest daughter, Olivia Uzumaki, and their younger son, Orion Uzumaki. Following would be Naruto and the Queen of Gallia, Tabitha, their daughter, Iris Uzumaki. And finally, the children that I'm sure you're all familiar with, of Naruto and Hinata Hyuga, Boruto Uzumaki and Himawari Uzumaki. These were the children of Naruto, 10 in all. To say that the Uzumaki clan had made a rebound would be an understatement. Now, I won't go into details about how the children were conceived, but safe to say Naruto got plenty of exercise. But more importantly, Naruto had to learn to be more balanced. He had more power than one could ever imagine. After all, he was blessed with the power of Gandalf, as well as the power of the Elemental Master. Power he required when he had been taken to Louise's world. The power that the familiar Mark gave him. Naruto was leagues above many in either world, and he stood above all as the true sage, many believing that he was the next incarnate of the Sage of Six Paths, and that his power could be what would lead the world into the future. But the ninja world itself had also changed. It wasn't so much in the form of what was, but in the form of what came after. Through series of events, certain shinobi that died in the original timeline actually survived and would go on to play big roles in the ninja world. None more so than the new Kage to join the ranks of the 5 other Kage. This would be none other than Nagato Uzumaki. Despite having once been a member of the Akatsuki, Nagato's efforts in the 4th Great Shinobi War could not be understated, as he played a major part in helping the allied shinobi forces in their battle against Madara and Obito, as well as the Ten Tails. As such, along with heavy testimony on behalf of Naruto, Nagato was granted clemency, and he was allowed to help restore the Hidden Rain village and be established as a Kage. Darui, the 5th Raikage, Gaara, the 5th Kazekage, Naruto, the 7th Hokage, Nagato, the 1st Amekage, Kurasuchi, the 4th Tsuchikage, and Chojuro, the 5th Mizukage. They were now established as the 6th Kage of the shinobi world. This time in the era of shinobi saw peace that was once thought to be unattainable, not only in this world, but in the world that was linked between them. For Louise, she continued on in her studies of void magic, becoming a professor at the academy and helping those who she saw in herself, those who may not have had much talent or much skill. She chose to find those ones and to help train them, but not only to train them to be good in the way that they used their power, but in the way that they treated others. Louise was affected greatly by Naruto. She no longer looked at class and one's wealth and status as the end-all be-all. Her husband was living proof that anyone could make something of themselves if they tried and applied. As such, she carried on in that new attitude. No longer did she use the word plebeian, and no longer did she allow others to speak such a way in her presence. She became a force for change in her world, and so did many others. Henrietta serving as Queen of Tristan, Tabitha serving as Queen of Gallia, working to keep the peace between the nations. Siesta continued serving as a maid, serving in the household of the Uzumakis. She spent many of her time watching after many of the children, and you would think that this would be overwhelming for her. But as we established in the previous story, there was more to Siesta than met the eye. Learning that her family were descendants of a certain clan that somehow found their way into this world, Siesta learned that she inherited the genes of the Uchiha. Of course, they weren't strong or potent, and Siesta didn't want them to be. While she was grateful to learn of her clan's heritage from Sasuke, and even more grateful to learn what she was capable of, and even applying a little of what she learned, Siesta, in the end of the day, was not a combatant. She was nothing more but a maid that had the skills necessary to destroy you in 101 different ways, which made her both cute, resourceful, and deadly. Of course, our story will mainly focus on the Uzumaki children. What was life like growing up for all of them? What was each child's personality? Well, things were easier said than done. Of course, Boruto and Himawari were raised in the Hidden Leaf Village, but the others, they were all raised in their respective home countries. Henrietta raised her children in the country of Tristan. Tabitha raised her daughter in Gallia. Tiffania raised her children in Tristan, since that was where she resided. After all, she was cousins with Henrietta, so it only made sense to be close to family. Louise, along with Siesta, also resided in Tristan. But they also would visit Konoha from time to time. All of them would. Since they were the children of Naruto, they were granted legal citizenship into Konoha, so they could travel and come and go as they pleased. Of course, it wasn't easy on them having an absentee father in another world, and thankfully it wasn't just Boruto that had to bear the brunt of this loneliness. All of his siblings went through it, so any resentment or any bratty tendencies that they might have had in the beginning was quickly snuffed out because all the children knew they were in the same boat. But the citizenship also went both ways. Just as the children of Louise's world could go to Konoha, Boruto and Himawari also had rights to go to the country of Tristan. They were family to the royal family, so they were treated as such. There were many family visits between both worlds, and Naruto often found himself working overtime to try to keep everything in order. Being the leader of a village, working on relations between other nations and other worlds, it could definitely run a Hokage ragged, and he was doing a lot, especially with the helping of the restoration of the hidden rain, something that could not be ignored. Even though the hidden rain had some faults that were addressed, Naruto made it very clear in pointing out that the faults of the shinobi system, it also lied on their shoulders. It was because of the pointless wars that were fought, the lives that were so harmfully taken. It led to the conditions that birthed the Akatsuki, that almost ended the shinobi world itself. It was easy to cast stones, but when self-reflection was called into play, that was when one had to look deep down and see just what type of person they truly were. Of course, all of this culminated in this era of peace, an era that none thought could even be possible, and many more, they wondered just how long it would last. There were plenty who fought to keep this peace, none more so than the Shadow Hokage himself, Sasuke Uchiha, who spent many of his days traveling abroad, across the shinobi world and across dimensions, making sure to protect both worlds from the shadows. But our story begins on what appeared to be a regular day. Boruto had said his goodbyes to Hinata and Himawari. Today was his first day at the Shinobi Academy, but not just him. His other siblings were going to be joining him. Boruto waited at a specially made summoning circle. It was going to take some time, but they would all arrive once they were teleported thanks to Louise and her void magic. Of course, Boruto didn't want to be late, and this was also a big deal, as Naruto's other children who were of age were going to be attending the Ninja Academy as well. The mothers, along with Naruto, made it very clear to their children that they all didn't have to walk down the same path. Of course, for some of them, they had royal duties to their respective countries, that being Lloyd and Iris, since after all, they were the ones who would soon be in charge of taking over. In a respective manner, they were the ones that were going to eventually become potential kings and queens, and they had to act in accordance as such. And there were others who could walk down either path they wanted to go, the path of the sage or the path of the shinobi. That was what they would have to decide. Of course, out of all of them, the one that was the most nervous was Charlotte. Charlotte had developed a lot of tendencies that reminded many of her mother, a tendency to be short-tempered, a tendency to blow things up, and her ninjutsu, well, it was all out of whack. She wasn't sure what she wanted to do, to be honest. Her mother was larger than life and was well respected in the mystical academy. And her father, well, he was the legendary hero who saved 2 worlds. And her siblings, well, they were just all over the place. One was the descendant of the Uchiha clan. The others were connected to royalty. The other ones had the vitality of the elves on their side. And one, her brother Boruto, well, not only was he the son of Naruto, but he also came from a rather respected family in his own world, the Hyuga clan. There was so much that went into all of her siblings. And well, for Charlotte, she wasn't sure where she fit in everything. In the grand scheme of things, she really wasn't sure where she belonged, if she belonged anywhere to begin with. However, Louise, seeing the discomfort of her daughter, tried her best to reassure her. She let her know that no matter what path she took, she would always be proud of her, and that as a mother, she could only want what was best for her daughter, for her happiness, and for her future. Boruto wouldn't have to wait long, as before he knew it, 5 familiar faces would pop their way out of a teleportation circle. One by one, they all appeared. Lloyd, Mordecai, Charlotte, Iris, and Olivia. "Hey there, Boruto." Olivia ran over and gave her brother an overwhelming hug, almost squeezing all of the air out of him, as his brothers patted him on the back and Charlotte casually waved, while Iris shyly said hello. "It took you slowpokes long enough to get here. I thought your mother's supposed to be a teleportation whiz. What took you so long?" We would have got here sooner if Charlotte didn't spend all day in the bathroom," Mordecai would chime up. "Shut up, Mordecai, no one asked you." "Oh, here we go. The teleportation's instant, but the arguing lasts forever," Lloyd would mumble out. "Come on, guys. Let's try to get along. I mean, this is our first day going to the Ninja Academy and all. We'll finally get a chance to see things from Dad's side. Isn't that fun?" "Definitely. I can't wait to see what I'm capable of," Mordecai would say. "I hope you've been training, Boruto. I haven't been slacking off since the last time we sparred. I definitely want to see how much you improved." Boruto would grin back at his brother, the two of them giving each other a fist bump, before realizing that they were going to be late if they didn't hurry up and leave. All 6 would jump across the various rooftops, trying to get to the academy as fast as they could for orientation. They didn't want to be the only family that was late. Their father was going to be there, and it'd be rather embarrassing if all 6 Uzumakis weren't in attendance. Meanwhile, back at the teleportation circle, the chaperone for all of these children arrived. She had been carrying almost a whole bunch of luggage, so she was a bit late than most. As Siesta landed face first, she slowly looked around trying to find where all the children had gone. She'd been left behind again. Of course, as the children made their way, Boruto suggested that they take the subway cart. It would be a lot more efficient and they'd get there a lot faster. As the 6 siblings would travel on the light rail, Boruto's eye would begin to transform. It turned into something that wasn't the Byakugan. In fact, it wasn't like any dojutsu that the world had ever seen before. And one thing was certain, he could see something that shouldn't have been there. It was a young boy that he had met named Denki. He almost didn't seem like himself. He seemed like a boy possessed by something. Boruto would alert his siblings to what was going on inside of the cart and that they needed to get things under control. Otherwise, it could turn into a lot worse of a situation. And worse was what was to come. As the next thing they knew, they found the train going off the tracks, Boruto and his brothers trying to get Dinky under control. By the time they had done so, the young man had no idea what had happened or what had caused him to act the way that he did. He was just trying to get his revenge against some bullies that had been messing with him, but he didn't think he'd take things this far. Iris had a terrible look of concern because the light rail, it lost tracks, and suddenly they were on nothing more but dirt. Boruto, his brothers, and his sisters all watched on as the train started going off of the unbeaten track, and now it was on nothing more but dirt road. If they didn't act quickly, they were going to crash into who knows what, and who knows how many people could be hurt. All of them had to think fast. The turnstile for the light rail had been broken, and they had to come up with some way to fix it. That was when Lloyd had an idea. Taking a kunai out of his pouch, he stuck it where the steering handle used to be. All the siblings would bear down together, forcing it to change direction. Boruto would yell for everyone to hold on to something because they were about to go airborne. Siesta, in the meanwhile, had arrived to the orientation, where Naruto was waiting patiently to see all of his children. Well, 6 of them in the meanwhile. He still had to go visit the others. But still, this was their first day at the academy, so where could they be? Siesta arrived as Naruto went to greet his wife. He hugged her and asked what was the matter. She looked like she had been disheveled and she could use a break. Siesta tried to explain how she had lost the children, and Naruto, now being as worried as any parent would, had to figure out what he was going to do to find them. Although, the answer would come flying in, as everyone looked up and saw a large object flying by. Shino had just about called all of the Uzumaki children, and none of them had answered, although the answer came arriving sooner than expected, as the train cart went flying off of the side of the cliff, going airborne over the entire multitude of the students standing outside in attendance. Shikadai looking up and shaking his head in disbelief. Shikamaru, Konohamaru, and the other teachers and staff, well, it couldn't be real. The train cart went flying until it smashed right into the side of the Hokage monument. More specifically, the side of Naruto's head. And standing on the top were none other than Naruto's children. Uzumaki Lloyd, Uzumaki Mordecai, Uzumaki Charlotte, Uzumaki Iris, Uzumaki Olivia, Uzumaki Boruto, all here and accounted for. Boruto, kids, what have you done? Was all that Naruto could muster. Everyone else staring on in disbelief. It had only been the first day. Inside of the academy, Iruka would look out of the window. Seeing what had happened, he slowly turned back around, taking a sip of his coffee. This was why he became a principal and was no longer a teacher. He already dealt with one Uzumaki. While he had love for the family, he'd be damned if he was about to deal with 6 more. Konohamaru would appear, capturing all of the children and trying to get a figure for what had happened. Big brother Konohamaru! What have you done, Boruto? I promise, it wasn't our fault. Really, I swear. Ow! I'm sorry. I give! You don't even seem the least bit sorry. Siesta merely shook her head before helping out with wrangling the children. Safe to say, nothing was more scarier than the fury of a mother, something that Mordecai knew firsthand, as Siesta was his mom. Safe to say, orientation didn't go exactly as they planned, but still, once the situation was sorted out and Naruto got a good understanding of what had happened, at the very least, he was proud of one thing. His children had a knack for jumping in without hesitating at a moment's notice. You could say it was the mark of a fool, but to others, it was the mark of a hero. What awaited for these children? This journey that lied ahead of them. Unsure of what career path they wanted to take, of what road they wanted to go down. You could say that these were children who were caught between two worlds. Where would they land? What would be waiting for them around the next corner? That was something that only time could tell. This concludes Naruto House of Uzumaki. What if Naruto was Louise's familiar? The Academy Arc, Part 1. If you enjoyed today's video and you want to see Part 2 next Saturday, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington signing off, and I'll see you next time.